So let me tell you about the power of follow-up. One day we're prospecting. Cindy and I and our team's prospecting. And we went on this blitz. And if you've never done a prospecting blitz, it's where you say, hey, no matter what, every single day, I'm going to ask this many people if they keep their options open. Whether they say yes or they say no, it doesn't matter because you don't get to control that. While you're improving your skill sets, you make it up in effort what you lack in skill. And so we're talking to people, and it also takes a lot of pressure off of you when you're prospecting to not have to feel like you have to get a yes, because if you get a no, you failed. Prospecting success is measured by your attempts, regardless of the outcome. The outcome will take care of itself if you do the front end of our business. I learned that because this gentleman did a training, and he said every new agent, let's say they generate you $1,000 as your average when you bring on board a new direct through their personal policy, through field training, etc. Well, if you had to talk to 10 people to get that one, then you didn't make the $1,000 on that one. You made $100 per each person that you spoke to because you didn't know who the one was. And I said, man, that's brilliant. That's a completely different way of looking at prospecting. And I said, man, let's go make $1,000 a day and just go talk to 10 people. So we come up with this crazy thing. We say, we're going to ask 20 people a day live if they keep their options open. And the consequence is you can't go home if you don't do it. That means you're up till 3 in the morning. You don't get to go to bed that night if you don't do it. So don't do this if you're not ready to commit. Okay, don't do it. And don't challenge your new person to do it because they'll probably quit. But it's got to be internal. So we're going, and we are at a gas station, AM/PM in Lancaster, California. And Cindy Cobos prospects the person behind the counter. She's Puerto Rican. Her name was Tabitha. And so she says, hey, George, she's Puerto Rican. Can you meet with her? Sure, yeah, of course. I'm half Puerto Rican, half Cuban. No problem, let's meet. So we start talking, ¿Cómo está Puerto Rico? No me diga, blah, blah, blah. And she gets started. We fast start her. We get a top 25. We go in the field. And I meet her spouse. Very negative at that time. I don't know what this is about. Go ahead. I don't know. What do you want to sell me? I don't really care. She could do whatever she wants. Just not a supportive spouse. And, you may say, wow, like, this probably isn't the only time that this is the way that this interaction goes down. I wish her the best, but I don't know if she's going to make it because this person's very, very negative. So she quits the business because of that, right? Negative spouse at home. That's why I say be very careful. Marry the right person because one person can kill your dreams, especially if it's your spouse and you go to bed with them every night and boom, 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 boom. So very important to get the spouse on board. It's okay to be skeptical. It's okay to be negative, but at some point, that person, you try to open them up by bringing them to a big event, by bringing them to the office, by dinners, by lunches, whatever you can do to convert that person. All of us have been negative or skeptical in one area, so don't judge people too soon. And so she quits the business. I have her top 25. And I said, man, should I call this list? I don't know if I should call this list. Man, it's not my list, so I shouldn't call the list. But then I'm like, man, but what if there's like a stud on this list and I don't call them because she chose to quit? What do I do? And I said, what has a worse scenario? I call the list, somebody gets upset or they say no, or I don't call the list and I take away an opportunity for somebody to have insurance or have a business or make more money and change their life. I said, I can deal with this one I don't want to deal with. So I'm making the calls. There's a guy named Juan Carlos. And I said, ring, hey, Juan Carlos, you don't know me. My name is George Pelayo, but I got your name and number from one of my associates. And I heard good things about you, and I just want to see if you're keeping your options open. So he says, where'd you get my number? And I'm like, oh, man, what do I tell him? I don't want to lie to the guy. I said, hey, I have a lot of people that give me numbers, and yours was one of them. So listen, and then I transition the topic. Anyways, he says, no, I'm not interested. And I ask a question that I learned from Pat. He said, is it okay if I follow up with you in 90 days or so to see if anything's changed? Yeah, sure, give me a call. Okay, I got to go. Okay, but all right, hangs up the phone. At that moment, we feel rejected. But the power of follow-up, there's a quote that says, fortune is in the follow-up. And I said, George, remember, you were skeptical. You weren't interested right off the bat. What makes you now expect everybody else to be? Don't be offended. Don't be discouraged by this. Just follow up, man. Trust the process, right? There's a great quote that says, don't judge the day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant. So I'm like, okay, let's go plant some seeds. 90 days comes, and this is why you need a calendar, your phone, whatever, however you're going to do it. It's on my phone. Call Juan Carlos. Ring. Hey, Juan Carlos, this is George. How are you? Who? George, we spoke 90 days ago. I asked you if you... Yeah, George, listen, now's not a really good time, but give me a call back. Right? At that moment, again, rejected. So, hey, is it okay if I follow up with you in 90 days? Yes. Okay. All right. Take care. Bye-bye. Right? 90 days later. Ring, ring. Hi, Juan Carlos. This is George Pelayo. How are you? Hey, George, I appreciate you calling, man, following up. Right now it's not good. I'm taking my daughter to high school. She's just got into high school. Things are going on. But give me a call in the future, man. Thanks for calling. Whatever. Hangs up. 90 days later. Right? And I make a note of this. Daughter going to school. Hey, Juan Carlos, this is George Pelayo. How are you? How's your daughter, by the way? How's Carla? Now he's like, oh, what? How's this guy know my family? So I catch his attention. She's good, man. She's doing great, because people love to talk about their kids. Who doesn't, right? I was just talking about my son a minute ago. She's doing great. Listen, so Juan Carlos, what do you do, man? What are you doing for work? And is that what you plan on doing long term? You do. Okay. Do you keep your options open to make an additional income? Not right now. Okay, is it okay if I just check in the future? Cool, man. Well, hey, Merry Christmas, whatever. And we follow up. This goes on every 3 months for 3 years. You don't get to decide the timing in a person's life. They decide that. The only question is, will you be in their life when that moment comes? When their boss disrespects them, when they get fired, when they get laid off, when their kid wants to go to college, when they need to buy a new car, when they get a deduction at work and income, when they have to pay for a new engine. At that moment, there will be a moment where that person's dissatisfied, frustrated, wants more money, maybe watches a movie and dude, why am I not a winner in my life that way? And they're inspired, so they're looking for opportunity. Maybe they're around somebody else really successful, and then they go home that night and man, God, what is it that you want me to do? Why am I not at that? Well, you call him that day, and you don't know when that is, so that's why you got to follow up. So I call him, yeah, George, I am interested. Okay, well, what's better for you? And we do the whole script. What's better for you today or tomorrow? He comes in, gets recruited. He tells his 17-year-old daughter, 16-year-old daughter at that time, hey, I'm a broker. That's all he says. She goes to school. She's talking to her friend, Marcelo. Some of you guys may know that first name. And she says, oh, my dad's a broker. Marcelo says, oh, my dad's looking for a broker. He thought that her dad was a real estate broker, not an insurance broker. And so Marcelo introduces his father to Carla's father, Juan Carlos. At that time, I believe Cindy does the interview or meets Rodolfo Sr. So now you know who this is at this point, if you didn't already know. And Rodolfo Sr. recruits his son, Rodolfo Vargas. We the people. And history changes. PHP changes. If you look at WTP today, all their offices across the country, Puerto Rico, 7-figure earners, board council, the company wouldn't be the company without WTP, right? And a lot of the other leadership organizations, but that came through a follow-up call. That came through somebody said, hey man, well, you know what? My dad should talk to your dad. It was 2 kids at that time, kids, right? 16 years old. That said, and by the way, now you look at Rodolfo and Ceci Vargas, it's not just Rodolfo and Ceci Vargas, but it's also Marcelo and Gabby Vargas and what they're doing in terms of being a vice president organization. And it's just an amazing story of the power of follow-up. What if Cindy doesn't prospect that person? What if we don't call that top 25? What if after we got that first no, we don't make a call every 3 months? What if he doesn't tell his daughter? What if she doesn't tell? Our business would be very different today. Unity wouldn't be Unity without WTP. And so it changed our life. But most of us will not make that follow-up call for 3 years, because if it doesn't happen now, it'll never happen. And that's the mentality of most people. We live in an instant gratification society. It really is a challenge today. And it happens to all of us. I don't care who says it. Everybody's immune to wanting to eat that chocolate right now because it's going to taste good. Or have that drink, that soda, or that wine, or whatever it is. Sleep in a little bit. We live in an instant gratification society, but you have to know successful people are experts in delayed gratification. One of the things Pat teaches us and talks about all the time is long-term thinking. That big thinkers are long-term thinkers, and small thinkers are short-term thinkers. You got to have a thinking. This is the aspect that you got to think. This person one day will be on my team, be one of my clients, or refer me somebody that will be a giant. Because if you're a pleasant person and you're professional and you follow up and you add value, this person eventually is going to see that, man, you're consistent and you are a professional. Every 3 months she calls me. Every 3 months he calls me. What what does this person do? Eventually, your consistency will create curiosity, which creates opportunity. So we are looking forward to hearing more follow-up stories because they're out there, and maybe you'll be telling the next follow-up story and how that changed your life. Take care, everybody. Make sure you follow up.